This is Red Carpet Fly's News on the Fly, bringing you daily, unique, and interesting entertainment, celebrity, and luxury news. Before we get started, you know what to do. Like, follow, and subscribe to Red Carpet Fly, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single News on the Fly episode. Happy Monday! I hope you guys had a good weekend. On Sunday, I attended Zeus Network's premiere of Bobby I Love You. Prrr. It is starring Bobby Lights and Rolling Ray. It's a reality show where Bobby Lights is looking for love and a house full of guys are vying for his affection. Think The Bachelor, but for gay men. Rolling Ray is on there to provide sage advice and guidance to Bobby as he makes his choices amongst the men. For those of you who don't know, Bobby is from Love and Hip Hop Miami, and I actually met him before at a fashion show in New York during New York Fashion Week like several years ago, and he was such a sweetheart. Rolling Ray I never met, but I just did a story on him and his beef with Doja Cat, so I was able to catch up with Ray on the red carpet and ask him about the situation, and he let me know that everything is okay between him and Doja now. However, he didn't tell me what she had said to him in his Twitter DMs. I wanted to know if she offered him some money for using his catchphrase. See, I'm on the front lines asking the real questions, trying to get an exclusive for you guys. Anyway, I had a really great time. Oh, and Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked and Natalie Nunn are executive producers of the show, so I got to catch up with them as well. Anyway, let's get into these headlines. So HBO's House of Dragons premiered last night. Did anyone see it? Do we have any Game of Thrones fans in here? I am a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I would have seen it last night if I wasn't covering the red carpet. It looks really good, and I hear that this episode really sets up not only what we're going to see for the rest of the season, but it really clarifies and explains the world of Game of Thrones as we know it. Comment below if you guys are watching House of the Dragons or if you're a Game of Thrones fan. So, I know most of you have already heard that Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck had their second wedding this past weekend. I really haven't been keeping up with this story, so I was kind of confused. I was like, dang, this is one really long wedding. But now I see that it's in fact two weddings. So, I know the bigger outlets have been covering this ad nauseum, so this would be a story that I would usually pass on, but there's something interesting about Ben Affleck's second wedding. It was held on a Plantation-style wedding venue. So according to Page 6, Ben Affleck tried to sell his sprawling Greek revival, Imitation Plantation, the site of his elaborate wedding to Jennifer Lopez on Saturday, 3 years after revelations surfaced that one of his ancestors was a slave-owning Georgia sheriff. In 2015, the Hollywood actor tried to suppress details about Benjamin Cole, a relative on his mother's side who owned several slaves in Chatham County, near his 87-acre Hampton Island property. Affleck purchased the property in 2003, according to reports. The revelations about Cole were made on PBS's Finding Your Roots, hosted by Harvard University Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. Affleck put the lavish property, which includes a deep water port and a 6,000 square foot home known as the Big House, on the market for $8.9 million in 2018. He lowered the price to $7.6 million the following year before taking it off the market altogether. Built in 2000, the property was designed by Atlanta-based architect James Strickland to resemble a southern plantation. It also includes a 10,000 square foot guest house and equestrian facilities. An expert on slavery said she was shocked that Affleck and Lopez decided to have such a splashy wedding at the plantation-style home. When he discovered who his ancestors were, he tried to quelch it, said Leslie Harris, co-editor of Slavery and Freedom in Savannah and the professor of history at Northwestern University. It's clear he didn't learn his lesson. We're back at the same place with him. People still build houses that are plantation-style. It's a sign of wealth. It's surprising that Affleck would choose this place for a wedding when many historic plantations have stopped even having weddings. You know, it's the secrecy for me. We aren't responsible for our ancestors' actions, right? Ben Affleck isn't a slave owner, and to my knowledge, he's not even a racist. However, trying to suppress information about your family's past is kind of cringeworthy. I know it's not a glowing highlight of your family's past, but just acknowledge it and say that it was a dark time in your family's history, and luckily you and your family have learned from that unfortunate time and use it to educate your kids and the community at large about the ugly truth of slavery here in the United States. And I know this is going to be controversial, but this is why I believe CRT, critical race theory, should be taught in schools. We should be able to talk about the truth about slavery, and it should be something to learn from, not to shame people. When you try to hide things, it's like suppressing the truth, right? And acting like it never happened. I feel like if CRT was taught in schools, we can have open dialogue, Black people and white people, about these things and examine why these things were wrong and how to avoid that type of thinking and these type of actions in the future. And while the descendants of slave owners may feel some kind of shame or guilt, they can unpack those emotions in the context of the past. I feel like we won't ever move forward if there isn't acknowledgement and tough discussions. But you know what's more interesting than Ben Affleck's actions? It's interesting that J-Lo agreed to have a wedding there. She's a minority of Puerto Rican descent, and Puerto Ricans are very proud of their Taino heritage, which is a mixture of indigenous Spanish and slave ancestry. So it's funny that this didn't strike a nerve with her. I get that plantations can be beautiful, but I don't think I could ever have anything celebratory there because of the history. I feel like the spirits of the slaves would still be haunting that plantation. And maybe she's okay with it because it was a replica plantation house, but is that any better? What do you guys think about this? So we've all heard of these self-made billionaires like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs, but are they so self-made? I ran across an article this weekend about Jeff Bezos' billionaire parents, Jacqueline and Miguel Mike Bezos, and how, with much skepticism, they loaned Jeff $245,000 in 1995 to start Amazon.com. And by 2020, he had transformed that into $1 trillion. So according to Luxury Launches, Jeff Bezos did start off with humble beginnings. The Amazon founder was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1964. His biological parents, Jacqueline Geese and Ted Jorgensen, were only 17 and 18 years old respectively, according to the Business Insider. At the time of his birth, Bezos' mom was still a high school student and his dad performed in a circus. Although her high school initially tried to prevent her from graduating, the mother of the future billionaire refused to give up. The school eventually permitted her to finish her studies under specific conditions, such as not being able to talk to the other students or have lunch in the cafeteria. She complied with the rules and even attended night classes where she could bring baby Bezos with her. However, before Jeff was 18 months old, his parents divorced. A few years later, Jacqueline met Miguel Bezos while attending night school, according to CNBC, and in 1968, the couple married, with Miguel adopting the future tech billionaire. So I did a little research to see what Miguel, or Mike as he likes to be called, Bezos did for a living, and according to Fortune, Miguel worked at ExxonMobil for 32 years in engineering and managerial positions. And we all know that you can make a lot of money in oil, so that's how they could give Jeff that substantial loan. Anyway, the story continues that Miguel fled communist Cuba as a teenager and resettled in the US. There's a lot more to the story, and I'm just kind of skimming over it so that this podcast isn't so long. To read the full article, check it out on luxurylaunches.com. But I picked this story because I wanted to shout out all my entrepreneur friends that are out there doing it every day that can't take out a loan from a financially well-off parents or family member. I don't know about you, but I get discouraged and tired sometimes because running a blog and a few podcasts while still working a full-time job can be hard. And it's really hard when the funds aren't there. And I'm not trying to bash Bezos or Gates or any of these guys. And there is a level of inspiration to his story, but it's really easy to be successful when you have a financial cushion. But you know what really inspires me? The people that are grinding away every day like me, like Candy Wu, Kobe Shot at Photography, Maria Marie Enterprises, DJ Starstruck, and the Aaron Stacy Show. I know I'm missing a few, but all these businesses that, for all I know, don't have a substantial financial backers, but they're making ish work anyways and building their empires brick by brick. Do you know what I could do with the $250 loan? And I know some people are going to say, well, that's low considering he's starting a business in tech, but at least it's something. Shout out to all my entrepreneurs out there showing up, wearing several different hats, and making things happen. You guys are the true inspirations. Anyway, I wanted to share a story about Fat Joe, but I guess I'll save that for tomorrow. That's it for today, guys. If you would like to receive text notifications of when I post News on the Fly episodes or my celebrity red carpet interviews, please send a text to 917-502-4379 and say, I want to get fly text. Once subscribed, you will start receiving text messages regarding a News on the Fly episode or celebrity interviews. Also, if you have a business, product, service, YouTube channel, or social media account that you would like for me to promote on my channel, please email redcarpetfly at alexi@redcarpetfly.com to get rates for advertising. Lastly, please like, follow, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel, Red Carpet Fly, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Red Carpet Fly. And until tomorrow, always stay fly.